my heart is completely broken. We have the opportunity to be on the right side of history, and the majority of this board are choosing not to be on the right side of history. We have 60% students of color in this district. There is major community unrest. I will stand by this resolution. There is nothing in this resolution that should be controversial. This is about lives. This is about lifting up Black lives who have historically been traumatized over and over again by things like process. Exactly what you're talking about. It is unacceptable. I will stand by this resolution. Director Simons did reach out to me. I don't know, Director Douglas, if you missed this part of the conversation. Her and I talked because she did want to have a voice in this too. We had a good conversation. You haven't reached out at all. And so I've been really clear, I think, since I've been on this board, that we have some major issues to address here around race. If we do not address them head on, we will never get to a solution. We will never close the achievement gap. We will never start to address our issues that we have. And I'm committed to that. This is so serious in our community. And what you're saying, everything that I've heard tonight around this issue is concerning, because this is showing our students that this board, the majority, doesn't care, because you're hung up on the process. Read it. It's simple. Things have to be done differently. There's no time to wait. I would like to move forward with this resolution, to vote on it.
Does anybody else have a other motion?
Director Osseo, may I?
Yes.
Yes. First, I would like to say, Director Dawson Walton, your comments directed at me were completely unnecessary. Second, I would like to propose a motion that we postpone this discussion until a work session, and that we hold a special work session to address this issue specifically.
Do we have Director Simons, Director Mosqueda-Jones, Director Dawson Walton, any questions or second of that motion? There's a motion on the floor. Okay, what I did want to address again, comments stating that this board is not for achieving racial equity are incorrect. And at this point, with nothing to support it, based upon everybody here this evening clearly stating we want to move forward and address these items and look at them and discuss them and get them into the strategic plan so that we could budget for them and we can move it forward, and that the administration can put it into their goals, and that we address any policies that are required. So that is the way that I think we would need to address this in a proper manner, and certainly not with 5 minutes. And I have not read it, because I have not had any time to read through this, because we've been in a board meeting since this came out. And yes, I've heard, the discussion, but it has to come to a point where we can discuss this and not just tell us what has to be done. We need all voices heard. And I think at this point, I do want voices heard, and having this in the discussion, having it put out in the public, the entire resolution, which this has not been done, for people to see this and to vote on such a major thing before any public comment, I think is incorrect, and I cannot support that.
Osseo, could I try to offer?
Yes, Director McIntyre. Director McIntyre.
I'm just trying to find some ways to move you forward together, because I think there's hopefully more in common than not here. Since they're part of the resolutions as, honoring George Floyd's life on July 21st, I wonder we almost treat this like a first reading, and then this could come back for approval on the same night that you do the moment of silence, and you can have the resolution and the moment of silence, everything on the same evening. Maybe that makes a powerful statement too. And if it's an issue for some of you to need time, maybe it does give opportunity for additional feedback from the public, as was proposed. I'm trying to throw another possibility there instead of kind of where you're all at tonight.
I see that the discussion around wanting to have an open discussion about this at a work session, that there's no support from the authors of this resolution. Is that correct?
I would like to.
There is a motion.
Even if there wasn't another work session, just almost like it can come back for action on the 21st with all the items. Just another option for the board to consider.
Was Board Member Dotson Walton?
Can you repeat that? Sorry, Corey?
I'm just trying to give you some options to move forward. Maybe it's almost like we do with some policy decisions. This is not a policy, but we do a first reading. There's time for feedback. There's time for any additional clarifications, and then it could come back as an action item on the 21st, since that was the night it was proposed to do the moment of silence. So it could be the moment of silence and the adoption, the potential adoption of the resolution on the July meeting.
I feel like if I didn't have something concrete, you would say, you don't have anything concrete, Kelsey. If I didn't have action steps, you would say, what are the action steps, Kelsey? So here I have laid out district demographics, laying out the incident of George Floyd. In the letter that we read, it already stated what the resolution was going to be. This is not a surprise. And so I'm really left with a loss. And to me, it just seems as though, as a board, we're not ready to move forward like a Hopkins school district who has already passed this, or Bedford school district, or many of the Los Angeles school districts. So all of these, have already passed resolutions such as these. I'm at a loss because I felt that we were at a place where we were ready to move forward, considering pretty much every time we see any data, anytime we talk about our programming, anytime, we invest in equity. So to me, this falls completely in line with where we're going. And so it seems to be a little controversial in this board. And I'm happy about that. I think people should feel uncomfortable. This is really important. And it's just showing me where we're really at with some things. So I stand by this resolution. I'm ready to take a vote on it.
I would like to add to the debate. I would just reiterate my comments on that I do support many of the items in this document. And I think it's things that we are working toward and will continue to work for. And that's my personal commitment as a board member speaking for myself. And I did not second the tabling motion out of respect for the resolution authors, since I didn't want to do something different that they did not support. And I am 100% committed to all of our work, as I have stated, and will continue to remain so.
Bloomington just passed a resolution as well.
I was just going to say that Bloomington just passed their resolution. Thank you, Director Dotson-Walton. So here's my question. Is there something specific on here that just jumped out and you said, I just can't get behind that because I know that all of the items listed, action items under the 13 items that we have here, only 2 of them are new. All the whereas statements are all research or right from our own demographics and from our own policies and our own mission and vision. So I'm just trying to figure out where the disagreement truly is. Is there something in here that someone says, oh gosh, I don't think we can really do that, or I don't really believe that, you know, whatever the action it, whatever the statement is. I'm having a hard time understanding that. Mike, you're on mute.
Thank you for letting me know. And sort of lost my train of thought there, but the issue becomes these are exactly the types of discussions that we have at the strategy meetings in an in-depth work session. And just to say, I have a question with this is not the venue to dig into that. To have the one-on-one discussions for a longer term impact is what we do at work sessions, at the strategy planning meetings, at the work session, because this is all part of the going forward strategy that we have all supported. But just to say, we're going to take a look at this 2,000 word item with all of the clauses and everything else, it hasn't been, I haven't read it because I got it at 5 minutes before this board meeting. And there is very, much of this to support. And we've all agreed that there's much of this to support, and let's talk about it open at the strategy meetings, at the planning meetings, at the policy meetings that will enable this to go forward. That's where we're at. To say that no one supports this is incorrect. And with that, if we want to call a vote, unless anybody else wants to do it, we can move forward. So hearing no further discussion, Sherry, if you can please call a vote.
Just to confirm, the motion is an action to approve the resolution as presented?
Correct.
All right. Sorry. Director Mosqueda Jones?
Point of clarification, Council, please. Someone could propose an amendment, correct?
We've called the question.
I don't,
Just asking a question for future knowledge. Thank
Okay.
you.
So I'm sorry, the question is?
Someone could choose to put forth an amendment. Is that correct? Not right now, but if it comes back, they could?
That's correct.
Or come back in a different form, yes.
I am voting for the resolution as it stands. Aye.
Director Ostafi?
Nay.
Director Douglas?
Nay.
Director Dawson-Walton?
Aye.
Director Simons?
hey,
The motion fails on a vote of 2 ayes and 3 nays.
All right. Thank you very much. Was there any other motions this evening? Oh, did I miss that one? Okay. Next up is gifts to the district. The final action item is the approval of gifts to the district totaling $68,155.16. Is there a motion to approve gifts to the district of $68,155.16?
So moved. Heather Douglas.
Is there a second?
second, Director Simons.
Sherry, please take a vote, or please do the roll call.
Director Dawson-Walton?
Aye.
Director Douglas,
Aye.
Director Mosqueda Jones,
Aye, and thank you.
Director Simons,
Aye.
Director Ostafi.
A gracious aye. Thank you.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Were there any other motions added before we go into closed sessions for negotiations?
Yes, I would like to make a motion. I move to adopt the following board statement. Recent social media posts by board member Heather Douglas does not reflect the beliefs or the perspectives of the Osseo School Board, nor were they consistent with our mission and values. As a board, we are committed to ensure every student and community member is valued in our private and public conduct.
That is a motion to have that language adopted by the board. Is there a second? I second it. Any discussion?
So can I just, point of clarification, as Jesse would say, so
There's a motion to approve a board statement or a statement from the board as spoken by Director Simons.
okay.
And Director Simons, do you want to read that again, please, so that everybody can hear it again?
Yes, I can. And this is in reference to our discussion at the beginning of the meeting and concern by board members about our response. I move to adopt the following board statement. Recent social media posts by board member Heather Douglas do not reflect the beliefs or perspectives of the Osseo School Board, nor were they consistent with our mission and values. As a board, we are committed to ensure every student and community member is valued in our private and public conduct.
That is a motion with a second. So any questions or comments?
Director Ostafi, may I?
Yes, Director Douglas?
Yes. Would it be appropriate for me to reiterate that my apology for the message that my statements conveyed?
Yes, you can comment on this.
Okay. So just for the public and administrators, staff, students, everybody, I just wanted to say once again that I am deeply apologetic for the way that my comments were received and the message that they conveyed, which is inconsistent with my beliefs and values. I know that no apology will take away the pain that others are feeling, and I also understand that my own experiences contributed to my comments that were not shared at the time that the messages were shared, making it difficult to understand where I'm coming from. And so for that, I apologize. I do support justice for George Floyd. I am deeply horrified by the way that he was murdered, and there is no justification for that. And I support George Floyd and all students of color in our district and the pain that they're feeling related to his murder. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Douglas. Any other comments or questions regarding the item before us?
I would
Mosqueda Jones?
Yes, I would just like to say that I'm in agreement with not agreeing with the statements that have occurred, and I am concerned that as board members, we need to make sure that we're doing our own racial work and looking at our own implicit biases and owning where we come from. And so I just think there's a piece missing here. That's all I can say for right now.
Okay, thank you, Director Mosqueda Jones. Dr. Dawson Walton?
So to me, I appreciate the resolution, and I hope it faced with as much scrutiny as the resolution we just discussed. But I just want to make sure in the resolution, I'm generally supportive. I do think that it needs to be addressed, like specifically what we're talking about. And so social media posts made in June regarding George Floyd's criminal history and support of the truck driver, who's semi ran into the protesters. I don't know how to pronounce his name, Bogdan, on 35W. That many of our staff and students were on, and that was the really big issue. And I know many people had family members on there too, but don't reflect the beliefs of our district, and that the impact that the post made were from all the community feedback were interpreted. That's from students, parents, community members, as really insensitive, unprofessional, and offensive, and not in line with our mission, core values, and strategic plan. So, I would amend that statement to really focus on just the real factual, I don't know. I mean, when I've seen other resolutions based on either denouncing, a colleague or censuring, it's really being specific about what we're talking about. So in June, 2 instances, and then the impact that it has made that kind of deviates from the trust that we're building in our community, and then really elevating and focusing on really whose voices we're talking about here. So elevating the voice of our Black and Brown students in the district.
Director Ostafi, may I ask a clarifying question?
Yes, Director Douglas.
Thank you. This question is for Director Dawson Walton. Just in reference to the statement you just made, I would like to clarify, are you saying that you believe that as a board, we need to specifically identify the comments that were made on social media and call those out publicly, and then make a statement of our position on them? Is that what you're saying, or are you saying something different?
I'm just saying we were asked kind of for discussion, and so I was adding to the two pieces that I would, as I'm thinking about this and listening to what Tanya or Dr. Simons proposed, and what I've seen in other jurisdictions is just that you're specific in what you're talking about. So you're talking about the recent social media post made in June, what they were in regards to, and then what the impact has been on our district, and that it's not in line with our mission, core values, and strategic plan.
So if you don't mind, I'd like to ask a question of Director Simons.
Yes.
Director Simons, my understanding is that this is a statement, not a resolution.
Yes, I'm sorry, it's a statement, yes.
Okay, so just to clarify, are you, Director Dawson Walton, are you asking for a resolution calling out those specific comments, or are you asking for something else?
Board Member Dawson Walton, I think that you are seeking to amend the motion with some added language. Are you able to articulate that, and I can write that down? And if
so I sent it to you. I had sent it to you.
Can you, for public transparency, can you state what you would, no, I'm sorry, can you say it out loud for what you would like the language to be?
So just to clarify, I'm sorry, we're before the board is a motion to amend the prior statement. Is that correct?
Oh, is that a motion? We don't know what that's, well, I guess it is. Is that?
I think that's correct. It'd be a motion to Ms. Dawson Walton is I believe about to make a motion to amend the statement of Director Simons.
Okay. So we need so that's a motion to amend, but we need the language of what the motion is.
So just for clarification, do you want me to read?
Yeah, would you
Statement
read
again?
the language that, yes, that you would like to have it amended for? And so then I think it becomes your amendment that we then vote on.
Okay. So I would say Osseo School Board publicly denounces social media posts. Recent social media posts made in June by Director Heather Douglas in regards to George Floyd's criminal history in support of the truck driver whose semi ran into protesters on 35W Bridge that many of our students and staff were on. Do not reflect the beliefs or perspective of the Osseo School Board. These posts were interpreted by many students, parents, and community members as insensitive, unprofessional, and offensive, and were not in line with our mission, core values, or strategic plan. These statements and interactions are destructive to building trust in our community and elevating the voices of our Black and Brown students. As a board, we are committed to ensure every student and community member is valued in our private and public conduct.
Director Ostafi, if I may.
Yes.
As a point of clarification, I heard Director Dawson Walton say that she wanted us to be really specific, but the statement that is being proposed right now is not very specific because it sounds like she's referring to multiple posts and not specifically identifying the language.
I would like to withdraw my motion at this time because I don't think we have a consensus on what the language is, and I just want to be mindful and thoughtful of that at this point.
So
Okay.
right now, just at least by Robert's Rules of Orders, we need to
Yes,
vote
sorry.
on the motion to amend.
That motion wasn't seconded.
That's right. That's exactly right. We have to have a
I
motion.
second that motion.
So we have a motion to amend, and again, of what was stated, and I think that would need to be read again because it was unclear if we're looking for specifics, a specific post from a specific date, and another specific post from another specific date would be helpful, unless we do go back with the overarching comments of the social media posts that have been discussed this evening and go with that. So unless we have the specific language of those posts or date and times, if we're concerned about the specificity, I don't know if we could proceed, but if we want to make the statement that as discussed this evening, the posts that were put forward, and then go with the language that Director Simons has. That may be a way of addressing it, but I'm not sure what would be the best way to go forward. Tanya, you still have, a motion and a second, but there was the motion to amend, but we'd have to be specific again on that.
So actually what needs to take precedent right now is the motion to amend. So Director Kelsey Dawson Walton's motion to amend is, I understand it's been brought forward and seconded, and this would be the opportunity for any sort of additional discussion and debate on that particular motion.
Yes.
I'm sorry, is there a question? Can you read that again? Because we don't have that in front of us, just what was spoken. So could you read that again, please?
What I'm saying?
Yes, your amendment.
Okay. Osseo School Board publicly denounces social media posts made by Director Heather Douglas in June in regards to George Floyd's criminal history in support of the truck driver who semi ran into protesters on the 35W Bridge that many of our students and staff were on do not reflect the beliefs or perspectives of the Osseo School Board. These posts were interpreted by many students, parents, and community members as insensitive, unprofessional, and offensive, and are not in line with our mission, core values, or strategic plan. These statements and interactions are destructive to building trust in our community and elevating the voices of our Black and Brown students. As a board, we are committed to ensure every student and community member is valued in our private and public conduct.
Chair Ostafi, if I may.
Yes, Director.
I would prefer that if we were to move forward with a statement of denouncing the post that I made, that we specifically call out the posts with their comments in their entirety and the date that they were posted. I think that that is important to clarify. And also, I would like to share, in case other board members are not aware, that the post that I shared supporting the GoFundMe for the truck driver was not my own writing. It was the informational section of the GoFundMe. And so I don't know if that's what you're specifically referring to, or if you're referring to a different post related to that. And so that's why I think it's important that we identify what those specific comments are before we proceed.
And I do have one question. I believe you said comments regarding Mr. Floyd's criminal history and in support of the truck driver.
Two different posts. Two different
Right,
posts.
I completely understand that. But what my question is, when you say in support of the truck driver, that could connotate that in support of his actions into driving in. And in fact, I believe that GoFundMe was in support of his wife and child to help with funds. Now, those are two different things. So I would, to be specific, can we make that one statement a little bit more clear?
Sure.
That's all.
Go for it.
So no, I would like to I don't know how to do that. So that's why I'm asking for your input. Making posts regarding posts regarding the trucker who drove towards the crowd or drove into the crowd, and posts regarding George Floyd. But we would have to, we'd need to get that language clear.
I move the question forward. I think I said that right, Tim. I move the previous question.
Yeah. So if the question is called, you need 2/3 vote of the board to pass it. There wouldn't be debate on it. It would just call the question. Does that make sense?
Yes, so I'm moving to that we vote on the amendment.
Okay. So now that it's called the question, I guess Sherry, please do a roll call vote of the amendment as spoken by Director Dawson-Walton.
Director Ostafi?
Aye.
Director Mosqueda-Jones?
I just need clarification. We're moving the amendment that Kelsey just read forward, yes or no? Is that the question on the table?
Yes.
Aye, then.
Director Dawson-Walton?
Aye.
Director Simons?
Aye.
Director Douglas? Director Douglas?
You can vote aye, nay, or abstain.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, I am going to abstain since it's about me.
Thank you. Motion passes.
So now we vote on the amended version, right?
Yeah, that was voting to amend what you had initially stated. Now we need to vote on the language that basically is what come from Director Dawson-Walton. Is there a motion to approve that language as amended?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor
Yeah,
of?
I'd like to
Yes,
discuss.
Director
I'm
Simon?
sorry.
Okay.
I feel like this amended language has moved us to a place where a censure is more appropriate, and we don't have a censure process. I would have preferred to have our language as our board statement that was a bit more concise. I feel like moving to denouncement is a censure process that we should be evaluating how the mechanism works versus a board statement. That's all I have to add.
So with this statement or with any other statement, statement saying we are concerned about what was said, we all want to work together, we need to understand what our language is, versus we are denouncing a specific thing. Tim, there is no censure process and there is no action from censure. There's nothing that is done with the censure process, correct?
I mean, censure is, it's not, there's nothing in statute, there's nothing specifically in our policy. It's terminology. So you can call it denouncement, you can call it a public rebuke of statements. There's nothing that magically attaches to the notion or the verbiage of censure. The board can make a statement. It can use the verbiage it sees fit with respect to that statement. But at least as it relates to the board process, there's nothing that I'm aware of in state law that defines a specific process for that.
Again, the statement you made, I believe it said of statements made in June. I think these statements were made in late May and early June. Is that correct?
No, it was June 1st and June 11th.
It was? Okay. I thought it was the end of May. Sorry.
June 1st and June 11th.
Director
Okay.
Osseo?
Yes, Director Douglas.
I just would like to reiterate again that I believe that if we're going to be making some sort of statement, that we need to be specific, like Director Dawson Moulton had said, and call out exactly what it is that we're talking about. And the language as it stands right now is a little bit unclear.
Do you have a proposal to make it more clear?
Oh, well, I would, like I said, I would propose that we add in the specific post with the date and time and language that they're referring to, the Tanya and Kelsey are referring to in their proposals or amendment or whatever statements. And I would say that the specific sentence about support of or support for that needs to be altered to say something like in support of, I don't really know the right language, but it wasn't meant to support the truck driver's actions. It was meant to support the family of the truck driver, and the posting, the words that were associated with the post were not my own language, it was else's. And so I don't know how to clarify that, but to make clear that yes, this was posted. It wasn't,
For
financial support is clarified.
Okay, so I think it's beyond the specificity. So I had talked to Tim about this prior. So the specificity was to say there's 2 instances that prompted.
Well, I'd like to call them out.
Community outcry. So I did. I said there was one. So we can say June 1st, there was the first post that then instigated a community outcry. Okay, and then there was a second post that then reopened the wounds and created another outcry, which you've all seen. So this shouldn't be a surprise to all of us because we've seen it in all of the emails we've received.
So
from
one of
our
them was a
community.
post
So
that I shared
what I'm
the informational section, and the other one was a comment to someone else's question on someone else's post.
Right, but and we don't. I don't know if getting that specific would be
Well,
helpful. What
I
would,
want to be clear that I didn't post that like, hey, by the way, this man's a criminal. That's not the way it happened.
So I stand by my my amended language. So I suppose we can vote on that.
unless there's an amendment to this to call out again the issue of going back and being clear, but a statement versus a censure. We're the denouncing. Going back to Tanya's statement, is that what was that statement, Director Simons?
I could reread it, but I think we're past that.
All right.
Aren't we voting
So-
on Kelsey's first?
Not if we would amend it.
No, we amended it to
Wait,
Kelsey's.
what did
Okay.
Jackie?
All right.
What did you say?
I said we should be voting on your version first.
So unless you change it, I mean, is it? I don't know if the holdup is the statement, or what is the? I mean, it says post on here.
Would
I'm
there be a
reading
friendly
it.
amendment to change it to financial support?
Kelsey, would you be willing to, in the comments, share your exact language so that I can read it?
So can I just ask
No.
her? Are you voting on this, or are you abstaining from it? I'm just curious, but yeah, I will definitely share it. I'm just curious.
We can ask people's
Can't do
votes.
that.
Oh, okay.
Right, I've been told we can't use the chat box. Is that correct?
Right.
Oh,
That's what I've.
Or
yeah, that's what I-
or text or anything else, right?
so, okay. I guess this question is for Tim then. How do we, as board members, view this information?
Well, I mean, you can take up a motion that's made verbally rather than in writing. It's done all the time. So, and as I understand it right now, the Director Dawson Walton's amendment is now what's before us.
Yes.
Yeah. So
My question is I
We
would
should
like
be
to
voting on
speak
that.
it so that I may offer my own amendment.
It is. I mean, if you're not going to be voting on the amendment and abstaining, I'm not sure. I don't have anything that's in Robert's Rules of Order. It would be consistent with not voting, though, to also not be crafting the motion before the board. So I'm struggling with that. I guess, I mean, theoretically, it's possible. I don't know the answers. We're sitting here right now, but if you're abstaining from the motion and then amending the motion, it seems inconsistent with that action.
I think all members have seen what the comments were, and I don't know that we need clarification. If we need to do clarification, that may be something that you can address afterwards, and I think you have. But these were posts. You either wrote them or made the comments to a comment, but they're still posts. So I don't know if we're looking for a difference with the distinction here, but I would I would make an amendment, a friendly amendment, if we could say in financial support of instead of support of, which is a significant difference, and then we move forward on the vote. So how can I propose amendment to put in financial support of and to help with that?
You can always propose an amendment to an amendment.
So I do propose that.
We would need to have the specific language understood and read, but it certainly is appropriate to have an amendment to an amendment.
And if it's a friendly amendment, can Kelsey make that amendment herself?
I think that we've actually, the problem that we have with that right now is the amendment has been called, and now we're voting on that. So the only option at this point would be to amend the amendment.
So to make a motion, I'm making a motion to amend it to put the word financial in front of support. Is to be very clear. That's and is there a second to that motion?
So can,
All right. Okay.
wait, can I just be, okay, never mind.
If there's no support of that motion, then we move on. So we take a vote on the amended language, and we go from there. So Sherry, unless there's any other questions.
So it might be helpful again to, so now we are actually voting on Director Dawson Walton's motion. That's the motion now before the board. So it might be helpful again just to clarify and have her read the motion.
Okay, Osseo School Board publicly denounces social media posts made by Director Heather Douglas in June in regards to George Floyd's criminal history and support of the truck driver who ran into protesters on 35W Bridge that many of our students and staff were on, do not reflect the beliefs or perspective of the Osseo School Board. These posts were interpreted by many students, parents, and community members as insensitive, unprofessional, and offensive, and are not in line with our mission, core values, or strategic plan. These statements and interactions are destructive to building trust in our community and elevating the voices of our Black and Brown students. As a board, we are committed to ensure every student and community member is valued in our private and public conduct.
All right. Sherry, please call the vote.
Director Ostafi,
Aye.
Director Dawson Walton,
Aye.
Director Simons,
Aye.
Director Mosqueda Jones,
Aye.
Director Douglas.
Abstain.
And the motion carries 4.
All right, at this time, the board will be going into closed session. Board members will log off from the regular meeting and then join a separate closed meeting via video conference. Is there a motion to recess the regular meeting for 5 to 10 minutes and reconvene for the purpose of a closed meeting of the Osseo Area School Board pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D03 to consider strategy parameters and development and labor negotiations for the following bargaining groups: ESPs, AESPs, custodians, RNs, LPNs, Kid Stop Instruction, hourly technical and confidential support specialists. Do we have a motion to approve a recess?
So moved, Director
Do we have a
Simons.
second? Do we have a second?
Second. Second.
All right, Sherry, please take a roll call.
Director Simons,
Aye.
Director Ostafi,
Aye.
Director Mosqueda Jones,
Aye.
Director Douglas,
Aye.
Director Dawson Walton,
Aye.
and the motion passes on a vote of 5-0.
Regular board meeting will be adjourned at the conclusion of the closed session. We are in recess. Thank you.